Hello, everyone. Nice to be back.
Hello, everybody. Sorry that we had a little 2-week hiatus there.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I feel totally fine. Back to normal.
How was it this time around?
It was worse this time around, but it still wasn't. I wouldn't say it was bad. Like, I didn't feel like I was fucking dying. You know, it was just it was like a really bad cold.
Yeah.
Like, easily the worst part, and I think it was the same way for Mary as well. Was the congestion.
Yeah.
Like, the congestion this time around was it was rough.
Yeah, when I got it this time, it just felt like a really bad, like, upper respiratory infection.
See, I didn't have, like, a ton of, like, coughing and hacking and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, all mine was, like, up here in my sinuses.
No.
But it sucked because, like, Mary got sick, I want to say, or she tested positive on, I think it was the Thursday.
Yeah.
And so she came home.
Was she just feeling bad?
Yeah, she was like, I have sinus drainage and like my throat hurts.
Just go ahead and test.
Yeah, so she went and tested while she was at work. So she went and tested and she's like, well, I'm positive, so I guess I'll come home. And so like all weekend long, you know, I'm taking care of her, giving her food, water, whatever, medicine, bringing her whatever. And she's in the other room, the guest room. And I feel totally fine. I'm not sick at all. The following Tuesday, Mary's like almost back to 100%.
Here we go. Yep.
And I woke up with sinus drainage. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
No.
So as soon as she came off of hers, I got mine. And that fucked up our ability to record that weekend.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I think we got to push it again. But Wesley and I are going to try and do a nice little thing for the fans and do a twofer this weekend.
Yeah.
That way you guys can have
so this is one of two.
Episode. This is one of two. So if episode 2 for some reason doesn't happen, I'll just edit all that out. And you'll never know. So if you're hearing this, then we should be good to go.
No.
But yeah, we do. Yeah, I apologize for missing those episodes. I know that, you know, we tried to do a little spatially themed episodes, or, you know, quote unquote themed or whatever in the month of October, and it's like, well, fuck, we only got one.
No.
You know, maybe 2. So.
How was did you like experience any stuff like with your smell or anything this time around, or?
No, I
didn't either. That's why I asked.
Yeah,
so
I didn't, but Mary did. Both times Mary did. She lost her sense of smell the first time, and then her taste followed after. Or, you know, or around the same time, or whatever. But then, like, it persisted for a long time. Like, even when she got better, she still had a hard time tasting and smelling things. This time, I think it was the same way, but when you're sick, you kind of have a hard time tasting and smelling things anyway. But for me, both times, I never had that issue. But it sucked because, let's see, so she came home on Friday from work sick. I started on Thursday. I had a pork shoulder in the deep freezer, so I thawed it. And it's like, once you thaw it, you kind of have to commit to it, you know? And Friday, I started brining it for 24 hours.
No.
And then I marinated it for 12 hours. And then I slow roasted it in the oven to make cubanos with. No. And I made my own pan cubano bread and everything, and she couldn't taste it. Yeah. And I was like,
sucks for you.
I put a lot of, like, I don't say I put a lot of work in it, but I dedicated a lot of time to that pork shoulder, and it was okay.
No.
Like, I was expecting to be like, wow, this is really good. I was just like, oh, that's fine.
Do you feel like it was the brine and the marinade that you used, or do you think it was the cut of meat that wasn't as great?
I think what it was, I think a lot of it has to do with the brine, or not so much the brine, but the marinade, because I was expecting it to be very garlic and citrus flavored. No. Because the brine had garlic, had a whole head of minced garlic and the zest and juice of 2 oranges, which I assumed would be enough for, you know, to kind of get that flavor in there. Yeah. And then the marinade itself had the zest and juice of 6 limes and a whole minced garlic. But for some reason, it just the citrusiness didn't get in there. No. So a lot of what I tasted in the end result was a lot of the herbs. No. It was very herby. which is I'm fine. I like a herby flavor, but it just wasn't what I was expecting.
Did you use fresh herbs or did you use like dried herbs?
And
the reason why I asked that is most of the time, like if you use dried herbs, like you really get the
they're much more potent.
Taste is much more potent than.
Yeah, definitely. I used fresh. What was it? It was rosemary, thyme, sage, and I want to say cilantro, but I couldn't get fresh oregano, so I had to use like a shaker bottle of that.
No.
So I don't know. I was disappointed in the pork shoulder, but the bread that I made was fucking amazing because I made it. You make it with 2.5 teaspoons of lard.
Oh, nice.
And I had never even bought lard in my life, so I was like, I don't know what this looks like or where to get this from.
No.
But it was just a good, fluffy, lardy, buttery bread, and I was like, oh, this is the shit right here.
Have you ever seen or watched, there's a guy that's got a YouTube channel, his name's Guga, and he does...
I love Guga. Yeah.
I watched one where he did a steak butter, and he took like all these these bones, and he just like put them in the oven and just melted all the marrow off of it, and then collected the marrow and like sifted it, and then like he had like eggs where he like cracked the egg and like put it in salt, so that way he would just get like the yolk or whatever,
like a cured yolk.
And so you get that cured yolk and he put it in with the marrow.
Yeah.
And oh my God,
I know.
It look.
Yeah,
so good. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I'll watch his videos like at work while I'm on my lunch break. Yeah. And I'm like eating a sandwich and I'm like watching him make like the best looking steak I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like, man, I'd give anything to be one of his nephews. Because, he has his nephews on, do the taste testing all the time with him.
Because he did one where I guess he soaked it in that marrow and then he deep fried it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that looks so good.
He does a lot of dry age experiments too. Like he'll dry age steaks and all different kinds of things.
I saw one where he did it in Chick-fil-A sauce. He's like, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Some of them aren't winners. But he did one, I can't remember what exactly it was. I want to say it was just MSG, just pure MSG.
Yeah.
He dry aged it in MSG, and like they ate it, and he was just like, He's like, I don't even know what to say. He's like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever eaten. But that dude can cook. Like,
and
he does primarily steaks and stuff, but he does like a lot of these like side dishes. Yeah, all those look so good. Yeah.
I really like the way that he does steak because he doesn't like overcomplicate it.
He keeps it very simple. Yeah.
But even still, like he always puts like a nice sear on the steak. Yeah. It always looks really good.
He always does it charcoal.
Yeah.
And I like, of course, like for grilling at home, I prefer to do like a gas grill just because it's so convenient.
No.
But there's something about the flavor of charcoal.
Yeah.
Like a charcoal, like a hamburger cooked on a charcoal grill is so good. Just that, I love that char flavor. And especially on like a steak. You get like a nice flaky char on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I know the way that we do it, I've got a Traeger, so I use the Traeger for like just normal grilling. It acts more like an oven than like a grill, because it's still indirect heat. Because there's like a fire like box at the bottom, and there's like a reflector on top of it. So like you don't have like the you have like
open flame,
the open flame on it. So it acts more like an oven when you put something in there. So like most time when I do steaks, I'll reverse sear them. So I'll put them in
the oven first.
I'll put them in the Traeger to like oven them up to temp.
Bring them to temp,
Bring them to temp, and then Allison got me that griddle for Father's Day, and so what I've been doing is getting the griddle like searing fucking
as hot as it'll get,
as hot as I can fucking get it, and so I'll take the reverse seared steaks off and just go psh, and put a nice sear on it.
Yeah.
So like I'll take them off and then put like a little bit of extra like kosher salt on them.
Yeah.
Just so I can get that nice sear.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah. Now I want a steak real bad. Yeah. I might go to the butcher after we record.
I was about to say, might go over to harvest time.
Predator time.
And then the other day I made hot dogs on the griddle. And so, like, you would think that, like, it'd be hard to get them, like, up to temp.
A hot dog is just kind of a hot dog, right?
So what I did was, like, I scored the outside of them. Yeah. And so I made a diamond shape from top to bottom with Harvest Times hot dogs, those big ones.
Oh, yeah.
And then
I haven't tried those yet.
I, like, thin sliced a bunch of onions and put them on there and, like, caramelized them on the griddle. and then I put the hot dog on top of the onions. Ooh. And then covered it.
Ooh, and like steamed onion flavor into it.
It was real good. And then like the scoring on there, like it just soaked up all the juices into the hot dog. It was really good.
That sounds good. God, there was something I was going to say. Oh, so we were talking about reverse searing. And I promise we'll move on from this in a second, guys. We're just like, I'm hungry. Like I haven't eaten breakfast yet this morning. So I reversed seared a couple times. The first time I ever did it was for Father's Day. I got 2 of those tomahawk steaks, like the big giant ribeyes or whatever, which you're paying mostly for the bone.
Yeah.
I got 2 of those, and I did them for Father's Day for me and Dad. And I was like, there's no way I could grill this thing to temperature. I mean, it's like it was literally 5 inches thick. It was fucking massive.
You're going to have to reverse sear. You have to slowly bring it up to temp.
So I was like, I just put it in the oven. And I brought it up to, I want to say like 135.
Yeah.
I was like, because it'll cook a little bit.
Like a medium rare.
Yeah, I was like, it'll cook past that. I was like, plus I'm going to put it on the grill too.
Right.
So I got the grill as hot as it would go. Like that, and that grill, would get up to like 800, 900 degrees or whatever. So it was just screaming hot. Yeah. And I threw them on there, like you said, just to sear the outsides. And it was really good, but it didn't have the texture of a steak. It was more like a roast.
Really?
So I think that
it was like the thickness of it, probably.
Possibly, but I've also reverse seared a ribeye as well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same thing. Like to me, you know how a roast kind of has like a very not dense, but it has a different texture, than like a steak does.
Right.
Like a cut of steak. So I think something about roasting it, something about that even cook through is what changed the texture of it. But it was still really good.
I think it also depends on the cut of steak that you get. So I know, like...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, my preferred cut of... Like, I like ribeyes, but sometimes the caramelizing on the ribeye can be a bit too much.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a cow that's, like, too fatty...
Yeah.
Like, that's what... Most of the time, I'll go with, like...
You get, like, a stringy kind of a cut, yeah.
Like, it just kind of strings apart.
Yeah.
Like, and that's... I'm like, nah, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't really do that. So, most of the time, what I'll do is I'll get... And sirloin's too lean for me.
Really? I like sirloin.
Like
it has to be pretty rare though.
Yeah, so if I'm doing sirloin, like sirloin's good. Like if you're gonna like strip it up and use it for fajita
meat or something.
Yeah, fajita meat or something like that. Like you might do for like a flank steak or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like a good in between is like a New York strip.
Yeah.
Where it's like it kind of sits in between the ribeye and in between the sirloin.
I like New York strip. I think that's that's always a safe bet if you're not sure like what kind of cut you want.
Right.
Because it's very lean. It's really the only fat is that fat cap that's on the outside of it. But if when you cook that, a lot of that renders down into the steak.
Right.
So, have you tried one of the Delmonico's from the butcher?
I haven't.
I'm pretty sure it's just a bone-in ribeye. Mm-hmm. But it's really fucking good. Yeah.
Whatever happened to T-bones? Like nobody really eats T-bones anymore. Because a T-bone essentially is just a ribeye and then a fillet on the other side,
I thought it was a strip and a fillet.
Oh, is it a strip and a fillet?
I think it's a strip and a fillet.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
And then a porterhouse is a strip, a fillet, and something else. It's 3 different cuts on one.
No.
That's what that is. I'm pretty sure at least. But yeah, I feel like people really eat. T-bones used to be like the go-to steak.
Yeah, T-bones were like, mwah.
Yeah, like anytime you saw like a show or like a movie, the guy ordered a steak, he got T-bone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody really eats that anymore.
Waffle House has T-bones.
Well,
and they're really good. Have you ever had a Waffle House steak? It's really fucking good.
Because they cook it on that fucking griddle, and it's got all that like fat from everything else on it. Like essentially, what they'll do is they'll take all the bacon and all the fucking and all the sausage and shit, and they'll cook the steak
just boiling
on the
grease.
same fucking griddle. That's why it tastes so fucking good. It's probably a shit cut of meat, but it just soaks up all that fat.
You can tell it is. Like, cause it's a T-bone that's a half-inch thick.
Awful. It's awful stuff.
Like, if you grilled it, it would be fucking horrendous. What is that? What is it? Choice grade is the worst one? Yeah. Well, before we get too far into the episode, we have an email from a listener we need to read.
Okay.
Because I think that our conversation in this episode is going to naturally head this direction anyway.
Okay.
So, here's the email. Good afternoon. Not sure if y'all can fit it in the next episode or not, maybe the one after the next. I would like to hear both of your opinions about the attack on Israel. Do you think it will steal the spotlight from the Ukraine war and or smother it out? That's kind of already happened.
No.
And then conspiracy question, do you think the United States' involvement with this war, which let's be honest, we know will be 100% involved, will affect the 2024 election? For example, would the government be bold enough to pause or cancel the election due to it being a time of war? It's never been done before, I don't think, but look how they handled it with the China flu. And then question for Wes. I know you hated being in the Navy, but do you wish you could go back in to experience this? I have a few Army buddies that share the same thoughts and feelings about the Army as you do the Navy. A lot of them wish they could have deployed to Ukraine if it went from a proxy war to conventional war. Thanks for all you guys do. I really enjoy the show, David. I don't know which David. It just says David. So thanks for the email, David.
Shout out to you, David.
Shout out to you, David, whichever David that is. I think we got a couple Davids that listen.
Okay, so let's go down.
There's a few topics
list.
in there.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's share our opinions on the attack on Israel. First of all, let's preface this by saying there's a lot going on with that.
Right.
So I'm going to try my best not to take anybody's side in this.
Right.
Because there's a lot of atrocities being done
by both
sides.
By both sides.
So the attack itself, of course, is what occurred on October 7th.
Yeah. Wow, has it already been that long ago?
Yeah.
21 days?
There is a terrorist organization out of Gaza, of course, which is a small strip of land where Palestinians live, right there, basically in the state of Israel, country of Israel, whatever you want to call it. And they used paragliders to land in Israel, and those terrorist operatives attacked civilians. One of the big ones they did was there's a music festival going on, and they landed there in the music festival, and they just started slaughtering civilians wholesale. They shot people as they were driving away. They went into residential areas and invaded people's homes and shot them and killed them, and they butchered and burned and beheaded and raped, and just it was a fucking terrorist attack.
Wartime shit.
Yeah.
No.
So the thing is, it's atrocious and it's indefensible to do those things to civilians. Like, it would be one thing if they only attacked military targets.
Right. Like if they were only attacking IDF targets.
Yeah, if they were only attacking IDF targets and IDF infrastructure and things like that. But that's not where they stopped. And that's not where the majority of their focus was.
That's not where they started.
Yeah. They also knocked down part of the border wall and invaded and went into the residential areas around there. And this is not hearsay. They recorded themselves doing this and uploaded it to the internet. So I've seen it with my own eyes, the things that they did.
Right.
So, and in the midst of all that, of course, they were launching a rocket attack, which they constantly do.
Right.
Israel has this thing called Iron Dome. And what it is it's a missile system that can detect when missiles are being fired at their country, and it can launch an interceptor missile that flies to that missile and blows it up.
Right.
And it's something like 98% effective.
Right.
And Gaza pretty consistently fires rockets into Israel. It's like constant. It doesn't stop. But on this day, a lot of it got through. So a lot of places in Israel were hit with rockets. In addition to all the slaughtering of civilians. They filmed themselves kidnapping people, and they filmed themselves lighting houses on fire, and they filmed themselves parading dead corpses through the streets. These are things that happened. It's not up for debate whether or not this stuff happened.
Right.
It did happen. They've documented it and released it into the world. So as far as my opinion on the attack on Israel, my opinion on that is that it is atrocious and it's indefensible, and it is not. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just. It's not justified.
No.
None of that was justified. Like, regardless of your opinions on who owns the land or who has a right to be there or this, that, and the other, shooting children is not justified.
No.
And chopping the heads off of fathers in front of their families.
Right.
And
civilians.
And civilians.
Yeah.
And raping daughters in front of their parents is not justified. Right. I'm sorry, but it isn't. And you're never going to convince me that the people who did this are the good guys, the quote-unquote good guys.
Right.
As far as the conflict between Israel and Gaza, there's a lot of back and forth about who has the right to occupy that land. And some people will say, oh, well, it was given to Israel
after World War
I. And then some people say, oh, no, well, the Palestinians have been here ever since the Ottoman Empire invaded and they killed everybody who was there. So the only reason anybody has been there is a direct cause of warfare.
Right. I mean, this goes back to, like, it was before it rolled around to AD.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been going
that
on
far
for
back.
Thousands of years, where it has been a war between the tribes of Israel and the Muslim Empire.
Yeah.
And this comes from both the individuals that come from the eastern side, which would include
the Turks
and everyone else, and then also having Egypt, like those Muslims coming up and fighting.
Yeah.
Because essentially what was happening, especially during the Crusades, like I read a whole book about this.
Yeah.
Where it was like you would have Crusaders come through and they were fighting a war on two fronts. Mm-hmm. Like regardless of whether or not the Crusaders should have even been there in the first place.
Yeah, that's what was happening.
That's a different question. Yeah. However, a lot of people seem to not understand that there are two different, there's Sunni and Shia Muslims.
Yeah.
They don't fucking like each other.
No.
Yeah, they patently fucking hate one another.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if they were to exterminate all the Jews in the area, they're going to fight amongst themselves.
It would just be, they would just turn on and say, well, we're the greatest and the blobbiest.
Right.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it turns into.
I'm very pessimistic about the whole situation over there.
Right.
Because there does not seem to be any kind of resolution.
It's a holy war.
It's a holy war. It absolutely is a holy war. Israel's PM Netanyahu said the other day, he said that we are fighting against animals and they will be exterminated like animals.
Right. You have essentially now just othered them.
Yeah, that's not the kind of thing that you say about a group of humans.
Right. And so now
that you would want to broker a peace with.
And now what you have done is you have alienated, because they were getting ready to sign a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, that's done. Yeah. Saudi Arabia has already said that they've backed out of that completely.
Why do you think Hamas even attacked them in the first place?
Yeah.
It's like, because they knew that peace treaty was coming, and they're like, we can't have that.
Can't have that.
It's like, not only that, but it's like, the IDF and the Iron Dome and all their security defenses that they have up,
funded by us.
There's something very fishy about this whole fucking situation.
Yeah.
Like, number one, it's like you have all these security perimeters. Like, you didn't see these paragliders coming in.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot of scuttlebutt about it being an inside job.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside looking in, it's what it fucking looks like to me.
I'm pretty sure they said that Saudi Arabia warned Israel that something was going on. There was talkings of an attack coming on.
It's like, and how is it that on the same day that this attack happened, they're also shooting rockets into Israel? It just happens to be that the Iron Dome defense doesn't work quite as well as it does on other days.
Yeah.
You want to explain that? Just so happens. I don't know. I mean, and it could be that that's not the case. However, just looking at it,
there's a lot of fishiness going on.
There's a lot of fucking fishiness going on, and it's hard. It's really hard to tell because you have propaganda coming from both sides.
Lots of propaganda.
You have pro-Israel propaganda coming out of Israel.
Yeah.
And of course, you have all the pro-Palestine propaganda coming out of fucking
basically the whole rest of the
world.
Out
of Harvard.
Yeah. Harvard.
So, I mean, I don't. As far as like what I think about it, I think it's horrific, and I feel bad for the civilians that got involved with this because they want nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah.
It's like they're just trying to live their fucking lives.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Hamas uses the civilians
as human shields,
as martyrs and human shields. It's like, and they do have cartoons over there that slowly fucking radicalize their children.
Yep.
As opposed to like, I don't know, trying to educate your children.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's
just fueling the fire.
Right. Essentially what it is it's a fucking culture thing for them.
Yeah.
It's like they are concerned with eradicating the Jews out of Israel.
Yeah.
Because they think that they have a right to the land, and the Jews think, "Fuck you, this is our land.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it.
We have a right to defend ourselves.
We have a right to defend ourselves." So, I mean, there's no.
That's the question too. Is like, at what point does defense become attack? You know, as people are concerned that Israel, every time that Israel retaliates, they take it too far.
Right.
Well, it's like, well, how far is too far? Like,
right.
You know, they're constantly under attack.
Right.
It never ends. Like, at what point are they supposed to stop fighting back?
As far as I'm concerned, it's like they can fight it out, and I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we should not be getting involved with this.
We should not.
There's absolutely zero reason why the U.S. should be sending any military assets over there.
Well, Israel is our greatest ally.
Yeah, you talking about the same Israel that fucking blew up one of our fucking planes?
Are you talking about the USS Liberty? You can't bring that up. They don't like it when you bring that up. 50 dead. 200 injured.
No. So, I mean, I don't... Like I said, good luck to you. Like, I wish that you wouldn't have to fucking fight this war.
Yeah.
However, it's like it's none of the U.S.'s fucking concern. No, I'm so tired of the U.S. being the world's fucking police.
Mm-hmm. I'm sick of it,
We need to fucking knock it off.
Our house is not in order.
No. It's like you need to take care of the fucking people over here first.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm so fucking past all of this. Like, we need to go help fucking other people. I don't give a shit about anybody else. I care about the U.S.
Yeah.
That's the person I fucking care about, because when we went over into Iraq and when we went over into Afghanistan and everything else, and everybody was like, oh yeah, here, we're going to send our troops over there too.
Yeah.
And then they went, oh, you don't need our fucking help.
Yeah.
It's like, so everybody retreated and fucking started working on their own infrastructure and everything while we're over there fighting all these fucking wars by ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like, so no, fuck you. You figure it out now. Figure it out now.
Yeah, have fun on your own.
It's on you now. Like, you need to get it fucking figured out, because we got shit over here that we need to fucking deal with.
Yeah.
It's like you're sending all this money and all these assets over there.
Just pissing it away.
Yeah, just pissing it away. It's like when we have large cities in them, they're just falling to fucking pieces.
Yeah. Infrastructure
for fucking shit. Crimes through the fucking roof.
Mentally ill people. Yeah. Drug abuse.
It's like, I don't give a fuck about what is going on over there. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it's happening, but you need to get it worked out, because we got shit over here that we need to fucking take care of.
I don't want to see American blood spilled because of some fucking desert squabble.
No.
I'm tired of seeing that. I've been seeing that since I've been alive.
I understand that Halliburton and Lockheed and everybody wants to go over there and make their fucking money.
Oh, I mean, there you go.
You know what? Well, then sell them fucking arms. And you do it as a private defense contractor.
Yeah.
The U.S. should not be fucking getting involved with this.
No.
My taxpayer money and everybody else's taxpayer money should not be going to fucking Israel, and it shouldn't be going to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Sorry, it shouldn't. I don't give a shit.
Who was it that came out and said that it was some, there's like the Secretary of the Treasury or something came out and she was like, oh yeah, the U.S. can totally afford 2 wars.
It's like, oh really? It's like, you see what's fucking going on around over here?
Have you looked outside and seen like what our country looks like?
Yeah. Like, have you seen the Lord? Have you looked at fucking Appalachia lately?
Yeah.
See how well they're fucking doing?
Yeah, they're doing so great. No, they don't need any help.
Yeah, they're living in a third world fucking country right now.
Just keep funding all these foreign wars.
Yeah. It's just like fucking amazing to me that everybody won't like drag their fucking head up out of their ass.
Yeah.
It's like, and then they're gaslighting everybody into thinking that we can fucking pull it off. It's like fucking, who is it? Who's the fucking prime minister in Germany over there?
Angela Merkel.
Yeah, Merkel was like, she's like, the U.S. can definitely. It's like keep our fucking name out your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
It's like, you shouldn't be talking for us at all.
Yeah.
It's like, you feel so strongly, but I don't want you to send fucking assets down there.
Yeah. You remember when Donald Trump crawled up her ass?
No.
She was like, I'm not going to be lectured by somebody who's such and such and this and that. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be lectured by somebody whose national security I've been footing the bill for.
Right.
And she was just like, didn't say anything about it.
So why don't you shut the fuck up?
Why don't you shut your fucking mouth?
Yeah, shut your fucking pie hole.
If it was me, I was the president, I would say some shit like that. Like anytime anybody got a little spicy with me, I'm like, shut your fucking mouth. Just fucking at the UN.
Sorry, I feel very strongly about this.
Remember when he fucking dog shat on Iran to their fucking faces?
At the UN?
At the UN. He was like, they're a rogue state, they're a failed state, they're animals. Yeah. The guy's just sitting there like, what do I do?
Yeah, the translator's like telling him.
He's just sit here and take it, I guess.
Yeah. And then there's like people out there like,
yes, yeah.
Fuck him. But yeah, I mean, I feel very strongly about this because there have been a lot of poor people's children that have gone over and died in the desert for fucking oil and defense contractors. Yep. It has nothing to do with national security. If 9/11 was actually about national security, we would have attacked Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's like not only that, but there's all these conspiracy theories about the 5 dancing Israelis and how it was real new that 9/11 was coming, and they didn't fucking tell us because they wanted us in a war over there. That way we could come over and be big dog in the Middle East. That way they wouldn't have to do it.
It's all very convenient.
I'm just kind of fucking over it. I just really don't give a shit. It's like, let that whole area fucking sort itself out.
Yeah.
It's like people seem to really not understand that the U.S. is in probably the most advantageous defensive position of any country in the whole world, other than our northern border. I mean, so fuck them. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. Like, I've seen way too many people that have just fucking died over there, and too many people that have gone over there and got fucking limbs blown off by IEDs and everything else, and they come over here and the VA just shits on them. They're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, so, no,
I don't. You get a fucking basket case.
Right.
Out of the army, and because he doesn't get the help that he needs, and then he goes.
Did they told the FBI and the local police that he was having a mental breakdown, and they did nothing about it?
Didn't do shit about it.
So why don't, before we start talking about like gun confiscation, why don't you enforce the fucking laws that you already have?
Yeah. I'm so sick of hearing the FBI say we had him on our radar. I'm so sick of hearing the FBI do their best work after the fact.
If that's the case, then you need to fire everyone in the fucking FBI and start over.
If you went after these people with the same energy as the grandma who walked into the Capitol building, or the guy who posted that he didn't like Joe Biden and you went to his house and you murdered him for it,
or the person that made a meme about Hillary Clinton,
and you threw that guy in jail, or the guy who said that I don't think the election was possibly all that kosher, and he's in jail for 60 days in federal prison. If you went after the actual people that you quote unquote have on your radar, who are mentally fucking ill, that they're mentally fucking ill, who are making threats against people, if you went after them, a lot of this could be avoided.
Right.
But I have very little faith in the fact that the FBI is doing anything for the good of anyone.
Right. My concern as of this point with this whole Israel-Palestine thing,
and in case anybody doesn't know, there was a mass shooting up in Maine, and that's what we're talking about.
Is that, and I have started to see these videos, and they're very concerning. Is that there's, how like they've been putting up like these like missing posters or whatever for like people in Israel that have been kidnapped and everything. There has been, what I'm assuming that there's going to be pro-Palestinian or somebody that's from the area ripping down these signs.
Yeah.
Well, people are getting in their fucking faces about it.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's boiling over.
It's boiling over. We have gotten to a point in this country where we have lost all faith in our institutions. We don't think that they do the right thing anymore. People have just patently lost fucking faith.
People have no faith in the elections.
They have no faith in the elections. They have no faith that law enforcement is going to do its job properly. So it's essentially what is getting ready to happen is people are going to go, we can't trust our government and our elected officials anymore. We'll take it from here.
Yeah.
We will dole out justice.
Everybody thinks they're on their own.
Right. It's like, and everybody just seems to be like, well, it's not happening.
It's totally happening.
It's totally fucking happening. It's going to get really fucking bad.
Yeah, it absolutely is. You know, I just don't. The thing that really gets me is like a lot of there's so much to talk about. A lot of the liberal left, the same liberal left that spent the last 8 years calling everybody a Nazi, are now supporting the people who are chanting "Gas the Jews, kill the Jews," which happened in Sydney.
From the river to the sea.
Yeah. Which happened over in Sydney, Australia at the Opera House. That's a real video. You can go watch them do that. They're in the full support of that. So it's a very mask-off moment for the left right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a mask-off.
The left has been very mask-off.
And it's a very mask-off moment for the right as well, because they are dogging after this fucking war in Israel. Like, they want it so fucking bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, what happened to you guys wanting us to be not involved in all these foreign wars?
No.
Like, now arguably the biggest fucking powder keg in the world is kicking off, and you want us to go over there?
It's like, you don't think Russia and China are looking at us? Like, what are you going to do?
China's already moving ships into the area.
Yep.
Like, if it wasn't for the fact that if it wasn't for the fact that Russia's fighting Ukraine at the moment, they would have already been all over this shit.
Yep.
They would have been back in Afghanistan. I guarantee you they would have been back in Afghanistan. And they probably would have shit all over the fucking Taliban that are there, like they did last time. But there are people who are just not. They're so caught up in my team,
right?
That they're not seeing any kind of the nuance that's involved here, or any kind of like the humanitarian side of it, because like the fucking BLM Chicago, did you see what they posted?
Mm-hmm.
BLM Chicago on their Twitter page and on their Facebook page posted a graphic of a person paragliding with a Palestinian flag on their page, and they made some quote. They were basically celebrating the attack that Hamas did on Israeli civilians, because they see it as standing against oppression, and they see it as decolonization, whatever that means. So they are identifying with it as they feel that they're oppressed, and their whole MO is convincing everyone that they're oppressed, and that there's a boot on their neck somewhere.
Right.
You can't really feel it or see it, but it's there.
The issue with that particular stance is that once you have eradicated your quote-unquote oppressor, then you become the quote-unquote oppressor.
There's always a power vacuum.
And then now, since you have advocated for violence against the oppressor, since now that you are the oppressor, now you have to accept the fact that people are going to use violence against you.
Yeah.
It's like, so eventually when the shoe's on the other foot, it's like, well, guess what?
You're not going to be happy about that.
You're not going to be happy about it. Because people are going to use the same fucking tactics that you used.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you should always be looking to broker peace when you can.
Always.
Because as soon as you resort to violence, regardless of what you state is the reason why you went to violence, you then thus have to be willing to accept that people can use violence against you. And I don't feel fucking sorry for you when they fucking do it to you. I don't fucking care.
It's like...
The exception to that is, of course, self-defense.
Well, yeah. But then, people say, oh, well, that's all Israel's doing. But it's like, the indiscriminate bombing, you can't do that.
No.
You cannot just... And I keep hearing this thing that, Hamas uses civilian infrastructure to hide under. So, okay, well, you still know that that's civilian infrastructure. Right. You still bombed it. Like, I understand that you're telling me that the terrorists are hiding in there.
Right.
But you can't just indiscriminately kill... you can't kill 500 civilians to kill 5 terrorists.
Well, it's sort of like fucking Shapiro is like, well, we need to send military assets over there. That way we can secure the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you feel so fucking strongly about it, Ben, why don't you go over there and enroll in the fucking IDF? Yeah. No, instead you're sitting over here running your fucking mouth.
Running your fucking yap, making all that money.
Yeah. It's like, if you really felt that fucking strongly about it, you'd fucking go over there.
He doesn't want to be away from his sister's tits. I mean, I get it.
Them knockers. Milk truck arrived.
Because our milkers. Milk truck just arrived. Did you ever see that picture of Abby Shapiro's baby shower? And somebody photos her boobs are big.
Yeah.
But somebody photoshopped it to be just fucking basketballs. And Ben Shapiro retweeted the picture and he was like, look at my sister, absolutely glowing. Fucking weirdo. Oh man,
I don't know. I'm so tired of the whole binary. We should be involved with Israel or we should be involved with Hamas. We shouldn't be involved with fucking either one of them.
First of all, we should not be involved with a Islamic terrorist cell.
No.
What the fuck are you thinking? Another thing that really gets me is
it's not like we haven't been doing it.
Oh yeah, it's have you seen all the queers for Palestine? That is the funniest fucking
ridiculous fucking thing I've ever seen.
Who do you think is who do you think they're gonna come after when all the Jews are out of the way?
Yeah,
you. Yeah, you're next. They toss you people off of buildings, and out of helicopters. What? They don't like you.
That's what it's just sort of amazing to me how it's they're so. The whole lib left is so.
See, that's the same thing though. They really think that they identify with this standing against the oppressor thing, rising up from victimhood.
Right.
That's what they think they're doing. But it was 1,400 civilians were slaughtered in a day.
Right.
I'm sorry, but that's not standing up to oppressors.
Right. It's what do you think is going to happen when they come after you and you go, oh, Jesus, and you're trying to run away and they're shooting you in the back.
Yeah.
Allah Akbar.
Yeah. Allah Akbar.
It's it's gonna they're just gonna turn on you.
Yeah.
It's they're gonna use you as a useful idiot and they're gonna turn on you.
Yeah. They have stated outright that is their intention.
Yeah. They hate you.
They hate you. They actually fucking hate you.
Right.
They hate you the way you claim Christians hate you.
Right.
Newsflash, Christians don't hate you.
Right.
They're taught explicitly to not do that.
Right.
However, the other side are taught explicitly to do that.
Right. I don't know. It's just so... It's so ridiculous. The entire thing it's a fucking holy war.
It is a holy war.
Nobody's ever going to fucking win it.
Nope.
When the sun finally fucking implodes on itself.
Then it'll stop.
And the fucking light in the solar system goes out. When we finally run into the Andromeda Galaxy.
Yeah.
And creates a massive black hole and sucks everything into infinity.
And squishes it all down into a singularity.
There's going to be one Jew and one fucking Palestinian fighting each other.
Yeah.
Right up till the fucking end.
Right up to the fucking entropy heat death of the universe. And that is the reason why I don't want the U.S. involved.
No.
I don't want to see our people go
Nope.
over there and fucking die for it. I just don't want to see it. I'm sick of seeing it.
Yeah. I have just zero interest in seeing any more U.S. civilians get caught up in foreign wars. I don't fucking. If you feel that fucking strongly about it, become a mercenary and go over there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really feel that strongly about it, that's what you should do.
If we were attacked,
a different story.
That's a different story.
Different story.
It's a different story entirely.
If we had a terrorist attack on U.S. soil, fuck them. I would sign up immediately.
Yeah.
I'd be like, let's go kill all those motherfuckers.
Yeah, scorched earth.
Scorched earth.
Yeah.
However, that's not what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with us.
If I feel like, let's just say, for instance, there was a Canadian terrorist cell.
Yeah.
Whatever that might look like. And they launched,
see you got there, eh?
They launched an attack on, say, Seattle.
Yeah.
And they killed 1,400 civilians.
No.
Kidnapped 500 of them. Recorded themselves doing it. All this. I would want us to retaliate.
Yeah.
I would want us to get our civilians back. I would want us to fucking squash that whole terrorist cell.
We own British Columbia now.
That's what I would want to see.
This is our territory.
But what I would not celebrate is the indiscriminate bombing of civilians.
No.
what are you thinking?
Yeah. It's like, what? Okay, it's like, what do you think is going to fucking happen if you kill a whole bunch of civilians? You think everybody else in Canada's going to be like, oh, that's cool?
No, I totally get it. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter. Of course, the best people in the world, they're all on Twitter, you know. I've seen a lot of them, you know, someone who is pro-Palestinian will post, look what happened in Gaza today. This, you know, apartment complex was leveled and 50 civilians are dead. And there's a fucking video of civilians laying there dead. You can see it. It happened. But then there's some Jewish person down in the comments who's saying, like, I guess you shouldn't have attacked on October 7th. And it was like, what do you think this poor family sitting in their living room had anything to do with the attack? It's like, even if they were happy about the attack and they celebrated the attack, they that's a fucked up thing, of course, but they're still civilians.
Right.
They're not fighting. They're just stupid.
Right.
But they're not fighting you.
It's like I said, like that whole area has a culture problem.
Yeah.
It's like a deep-seated culture problem.
Down to the fucking mantle of the earth.
Right. Like, you have mass poverty.
Yeah.
You have mass
corruption.
You have a population that is super uneducated.
Yeah.
It's like
conditioned to hate.
Yeah. Most of them do not know how to read.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if they didn't agree with what was coming out of the imams, they can't read the Quran to even understand what the Quran even says. All they know is what they hear.
What they're being told.
It's the same shit that happened with the Crusades. Mm-hmm. It's the same fucking thing.
They were told they were absolved of all their sins. They could do whatever they wanted.
None of those people could fucking read until the printing press. Like, the only people that could really read were clergy and fucking royalty.
Wealthy elites. Yeah,
wealthy elites. Those were the only two. Once the printing press came around, then it became the Bible was the very first book to be printed off the printing press and be mass distributed. The Bible is actually the first book that people learned to read.
Yeah.
So that whole area.
Isn't it interesting that once that happened, the church became very secular and split into like 1,000 different branches?
Right.
Isn't it interesting? Thanks, Martin Luther.
Yeah. Shout out to you.
Shout out to you, big dog. Appreciate that. You nailed that thing to the church door and it just went to shit immediately.
Well, I mean, and there was a lot of bloodshed over that because the clergy understood
it was a threat to their power.
That it was a threat to their power. Yeah. It's like, what do you think those imams are doing over there? They understand that once those people learn how to read, they have lost all control.
Yeah.
Because what they're teaching from the Quran might not line up with what the Quran actually says. I haven't read it. I don't know what's in it. However, I understand what Christendom did with the Bible is that they used certain parts of the Bible in order to be like, this is the direction that we're going to go now. Yeah. And everybody went, okay, I can't read, so I have to trust. I have to trust that this is truthful.
Yeah,
it's like, but once you take that power out of people's hands and you give it to everyone, now everyone can make a decision.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next point. It was, do you think that it will steal the spotlight from the Ukraine war and or smother it out? Yeah, that's already happened. I saw that immediately happened. As a matter of fact, Zelensky came out and was like, he stated that he was worried that the conflict in Israel would take away from the coverage of the Ukrainian war. Yeah. And it absolutely has.
Yeah, he was afraid that all of his Nazis were going to lose their money.
Fucking Jews. He says, do you think the United States' involvement in this war will affect the 2024 election? Never been done before, but look how they handled the China flu.
I think it will sway voters.
I think it will absolutely sway voters. I would be very surprised if they paused the election.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they would. I think that is way too risky, and if they did that, it would be too much of a mask-off moment for everybody.
I think that if COVID did not pause the 2020 election, I think there's no reason to think, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't think that this war is going to pause the 2024 election.
The United States, has been at war.
My entire life.
In some form or another.
My entire life.
Since World War I, since the 1930s, we have been at war for almost 100 years.
Right.
Nonstop. And they have changed the definition of what war is.
Right.
Armed conflict is war.
Right.
It is. So,
regardless of whatever the presidents want to say that it is or is not.
Now, I think it would be different if we were under attack.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If there was a full-blown ground war happening here in the States, then, yeah, they would probably pause the election. And at that point, I would say,
understandable.
I kind of get that.
I get it.
But if it's happening across the pond, I don't see why that shouldn't affect us at all.
That shouldn't impact us at all.
Question for Wes. I know you hated being in the Navy, but do you wish you could go back in to experience this? I have a few Army buddies that share the same thoughts, feelings about the Army you do as the Navy. A lot of them wish they could have deployed to Ukraine if it went to a proxy war, from a proxy war to conventional war. I kind of get that. I kind of get where somebody might have that mentality, because a lot of people, and not all of them, but a lot of people join the Army or the military kind of with this idea that I'm going to fight. That's what I'm going to do. And then when that never happens, I know for a fact that a lot of them kind of feel like, well, what the fuck? What was any of that for?
Right.
But that question is directed at you, so.
I think my situation was a little bit different. So I went into the Navy with the Army specifically, and with the Marines. Those are invading forces and occupying forces.
Yeah.
So they are definitely on the ground interacting with civilians and taking firefight
and the suck.
Yeah, in the suck. So I don't think it's an accurate representation of what it was that I did. So I was on a ship. And so, I mean, we acted as air defense commander, which essentially our job was to get in between anything that would be fired at a aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And knock it down.
Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I think that like we stated earlier, if it was a direct attack on the US, I would definitely try to get back into the military. Yeah. However, like I said, I have no interest in this conflict.
Yeah.
And as I've seen, there's been, I think the USS Carney knocked down a couple of land-to-land missiles coming, I think, out of Yemen.
Yeah.
So
we've knocked down a lot of stuff that has been fired recently in that area. There's been a lot of intercepting happening over there.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I think yesterday, 2 targets in Syria were targeted, or two military installations in Syria were targeted by the U.S. yesterday and destroyed.
Right. So I mean,
here's the thing. I think a lot of people don't understand this. Is that in a full-blown ground war, full-blown war, a war. Not this like pussyfooting, like we're kind of coming into your town, we're trying to hearts and minds. No. A full-blown war. No. You're shooting at us, we're shooting at you. The United States wins by a landslide every fucking time.
Right.
Because our offensive capabilities are second to none.
Right.
Do you remember when all that shit was going on in Syria the first time around, and Donald Trump shot all those Tomahawk missiles? It was like 500 of them.
No.
And he fucking decimated everything.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even have to come into your country. You're done.
It's sort of like when I remember, like, post 9/11, once the towers fell, I remember it was like 7 days later. Like, I remember they had video footage of
Operation Shock and Awe of
Baghdad.
Yeah.
Fucking leveled it. There was nothing fucking left. They said, hey, you're going to want to leave.
Yeah.
Because Baghdad's going to be gone. Yeah. Like, we're going to decimate it. It's over.
And Iraq was like, why are we getting attacked anyway?
Right.
It was Saudi Arabia that did it.
Right. So, I mean, like, if I understand from the standpoint of, like, being on the ship, like, we never fired a missile when I was in. So, like, that's sort of like a big deal, like when you fire it, especially like from the standpoint of like being on the ship.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're firing a missile.
Yeah. Like, because
you put all this time and all this effort
into
like making sure that your comm suite is ready to go, that, you know, all the circuit cards are made sure that they're in operating condition. You're using EHF and Aegis radar and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so to be able to actually fire a missile or use some type of weapons system, it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
because that's your job, is to make sure that those weapon systems are good to go.
Yeah.
Like especially like
shit hits the fan.
Especially like as a topsider, which is like everybody who works above the water line.
Yeah.
Like engineering like works below with like the ship and stuff.
Yeah, like the engine.
Right. Topsiders don't give a fuck about any of that down there. As like we're more concerned with comms and can we fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And so like especially for a topsider, it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
To be able to fire a rocket. So I understand from that standpoint. However, like I said, this is a conflict that I really have no interest in having any U.S. assets being over there. So if it was that we were retaliating for an attack on U.S. soil, absolutely I would want to be involved in the conflict.
Yeah.
I would go sign up again.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
But for this one, no. Not at all. I understand maybe from the standpoint of people that were in the Army that were looking for armed conflict on the ground and they never got it, wanting to go back in so that they could experience it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as a young man, you're looking for adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're looking for...
You have that...
Yeah, you want to test
call.
yourself.
Yeah.
You feel the call.
Yeah.
You know? Most young men are like that, so I understand that. Yeah. And then also going in, you put all this time and all this effort into
training and routine,
training into infantry and like all this other stuff, especially for ground forces. It's like, so I understand where they're coming from, but my experience with the military, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely get that. Like, you know, a couple episodes ago, we talked about that movie Jarhead. Mm-hmm. And how he was a scout sniper. Yeah. And they went through, and that's exactly what we talked about. They went through all that training and all that shit and this, that, and the other, and they just went through so much. And like they got up to the moment that they were going to finally take a shot, and they weren't able to do it, and they fucking broke. It broke them. So I totally get, you know, if you've been conditioned and trained, like here, this is going to happen, you're ready for it, like you're a trained killer and this, that, and the other, and it's like, never mind, go home.
Right.
Well, what do you do with all that? What do you know, it's a cock tease. Like, what am I supposed to do with all this that you've given me? Yeah.
And then you have these young men that come home, they're just broken.
Yeah.
They're just broken individuals.
And they say, hey, can I get a little bit of help?
Right.
And the VA says, no, you can't.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your missing leg is not combat related.
Not service related. Go fuck yourself.
I saw, have you ever seen, you've seen American Sniper, haven't you?
Yes.
With Bradley Cooper turned into a brick shit house for that movie.
Yeah.
It's weird seeing that movie and you're looking at Bradley Cooper because like the last thing I saw you in was The Hangover.
Yeah.
I was like, and now you're like this fucking meaty man. Yeah. It's like I don't know how that happened. But you know,
the juice.
Yeah. Chris Kyle was you know, he and another of his buddies, they did veteran outreach, and they worked with veterans who had, you know, were injured in the war, had PTSD and things like that, and they went to take that one guy, the guy that killed him and his buddy, they went to take him to the gun range, which I don't know if that's what I would have done.
Yeah,
but
questionable. But
they apparently the guy just really was fucking weird. No. Because there's text between Chris and his buddy, like they're texting each other, like Chris is driving and his buddy's sitting next to him, the guy that killed him is sitting in the back seat, and they're texting each other like, this fucking dude is a little lunatic.
No.
And his buddy was like, yeah, he was like, just, you know, he's sitting behind me, watch my six or whatever.
No.
And apparently they didn't talk the whole way to the gun range.
Oh.
And when they got there, they like pulled into like the parking lot, and as they were getting out of the car, the guy pulled out 2 pistols and shot them both like several times or whatever. And they asked the guy why he did it, and he was like, they just wouldn't speak to me. And it was just like, you know, think about how many people who are now in this country who will murder 2 people for not speaking to them.
Right.
And they're just kind of milling about. Right. They're just out there. This fucking guy in Maine that in Lewiston, Maine, that killed all those people. I think it was 18 people he killed.
Yeah. Is he still on the run?
No, they found him dead. Suicide. I think this morning, actually, or last night sometime. At least that's that's a headline that I read. No. So if I'm wrong about that, you know, I apologize. But you have individuals who are broken and are are just a fucking basket case.
Well, it's also concerning too that the recruiting has gotten so bad with the military that they're now getting rid of some of the standards that were in place in order to get bodies into the military. Like the debt pool, which is what you go into before you go to recruit training.
Yeah.
Was sitting at like 12,000 people. They just sent them all. There's no debt pool anymore.
Really?
So I think the debt pool's like 500 people.
They sent them all to
in the
training.
U.S.
Wow.
Because they're trying to make their recruiting goals, and that's how they did it.
Yeah. So those are going to be the people fighting our next war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People out there doing fucking Fortnite dances. Yeah. And they've got fucking broccoli on top of their head. Like a fucking cross earring hanging down.
Doing TikToks about, I'm actually autistic and pansexual and overweight and blah, blah, blah. Got a boo-boo on my finger. And yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's concerning. I mean, I don't fucking know. There's such a stark fucking difference between my generation, they're very fucking narcissistic, and like Gen Z.
Yeah. And
I don't know if it's because like Gen X was so much different than the baby boomers.
Yeah.
And it's like we just have this stark difference between these two generations.
Gen X is funny because they kind of just like, they kind of just existed in limbo. Right. As far as like their cultural impact, they just kind of came and went. No. And then like the millennials came right after them, and you said narcissistic, I think is a perfect description for the millennial. Your average millennial is just narcissism. Because that generation, our generation was brought up being told how special we are and how unique we all are. And fucking no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah. I will live and I will die, and my life will have been inconsequential in the grand scheme.
And bloat, and blood will turn black, and fucking my intestines will rot out of my ass. The same as anybody else. Yeah. Same as anyone else. Same as every great band that came before me.
Right. I just don't. I guess my main gripe with our generation is that everybody's been sold this bill of goods that it's like you're important and you're special.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody goes, yeah, I am.
I am important and special. Yeah. I'm worthy.
Yeah. And then you have like, and then of course that's split off into like men and women like yelling at one another all the time. And then you got fucking you got ding dongs in the red pill community. They're
fucking grifters.
Yeah, grifters. Have you heard about the whole Andrew Tate thing?
Oh, is there more going on with him?
I don't know. I don't think we've ever even discussed it. I didn't know what was going on.
We talked about him getting arrested when he got into a little Twitter beef with Greta Thunberg.
Come to find out.
Oh boy.
I have found out recently. He was running a sex ring operation.
Really?
So what he was doing, his own fucking words.
Yeah.
So shout out to there's a YouTube channel I watch, Abba and Preach.
Yeah.
And they have like the video. They're like, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's him sitting there, and he goes, I take these girls on dates. He's like, and then I fuck them. He's like, and I get them to love me. He's like, and then I turn around and I make them cam girls. He's like, so he just has like this large swath of like all like these girls, like a fucking harem of women that are just fucking themselves.
Like he's a sultan.
Yeah, like fucking themselves on the internet, and he's taking 70% of their money.
Jesus.
So, and then he turns around and he's like talking to all these guys. He's like, fuck them hoes and all them bitches. And it's like, dude,
low value women.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah, these young men are idolizing this guy. This is the guy that they're looking to. Not their fathers, this fucking guy.
Right. This fucking jack off over here. Like, I just don't. It's so wild to me that like you have all these fucking morons in the red pill community that it's like what they're doing is they're going, oh, all these lonely fucking single dudes, they're all fucking stupid. Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to get all my money from all the fucking whores.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm going to get all their money.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're both going to be broke and hating one another. And I'm going to have all this fucking money.
It's the perfect scheme.
It's the perfect
Playing
scheme.
both sides.
It's like, I'm playing both sides, so I never lose.
I never lose. Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, it's like you have that, like the whole red pill community and all the whole like MGTOW thing, which I think is in direct response to like all these people shrieking about the patriarchy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
all these like career women
Yeah.
that like they can't hold down a fucking relationship because they're constantly being told that they can do better.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're vying for 10% of the men out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not all going to get one.
Yeah, you're not all going to get one. It's like, and then of course they're laid up in their fucking house crying, drinking wine, and fucking themselves with a dildo because they can't find a man. It's like, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen?
Look,
and apologies if that hit too hard for home for some people, but
the moment that sex bots become a real thing,
it's
fucking, done.
It's over.
It's over.
We are done as a species.
As a species, maybe, that is it.
Maybe for the best.
I mean, if a guy can go and spend $1,200 on a robot that'll fuck him whenever he wants and do whatever he wants, and he can mute it, it's done.
It's like we've talked about before. Is like there's a real fucking issue with just like
kind of like what people expect a relationship to be.
Yeah, and just like online interaction is not real life interaction.
No.
And it's like there's all these studies that have come out where it's like, especially with Gen Z, it's really bad.
Yeah.
Where it's like 68% of them have never even approached a woman.
Really?
And, you know, and that could be a lot of that is like all these horror stories that come out about like the Me Too movement and everything.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, there were some fucking scummy guys that definitely needed to fucking have their comeuppance.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's like the pendulum always swings way too far to one side. It's like, so now we have this swath of young men that want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not going to get caught up in that. So it's like, and I definitely feel for those young men.
Yeah.
It's like, cause if I was coming up through school, if I was 17 years old, it's like, I would definitely be very hesitant.
Very cautious.
Very cautious.
Yeah.
It's just because everybody's looking for the fucking gotcha.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for the gotcha moment.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is concerning. I mean, you can see how people get radicalized.
Oh yeah.
You know, when both sides are being told that the other side is out to get them. And by sides I mean boys and girls.
Right.
You know, they're getting a lot of information from all different kinds of from sources, and this is stuff that like kids didn't used to have to deal with.
No,
like it just wasn't a thing. It wasn't an additional hurdle in our lives.
Right.
But now it is for these kids, and it's very difficult for them to navigate that.
Right.
And I don't know how to help them with it.
And you know, it's like you have all these young men that are, and I don't know about from the female side. I don't understand because I've never experienced it, but I understand a lot of these young men. They're like, I can't take the risk.
Yeah.
I can't take the risk of it getting involved with a girl.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, probably one that they've met online through some dating app. Right. I'm sure that's a fucking horrific. I'm so fucking glad.
I missed that.
I missed that
me too.
That whole experience. I want nothing to fucking do with it. So, you know, I'm sure that is very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And to just be like, you know what? I'm taking myself out of the dating pool. Is like, and then of course what ends up happening is all the money that they made is going to go to all these fucking women on the internet.
Yeah, the Andrew Tate's pimping out.
Yeah, the Andrew Tate's pimping out. It's like, and of course they're going to take whatever relationship that they would have had with a normal fucking girl.
Yeah. And
they're just going to have this parasocial relationship with this person online.
Yeah. Which is super fucking unhealthy.
Right. And it's not good for anyone involved.
Yeah. It is. It does seem like it's just a lot of anxiety around that inherent risk of a relationship, which there is. Any relationship you have runs the risk of failing,
right?
And fucking becoming an enemy,
right?
And that can absolutely happen,
right?
It can happen, but you just have to do it. You just have to get in there.
Right.
It's dirty work, and you got to roll up your sleeves, and you got to fucking shove that fist in there, man, and just to be a part of it.
Well, it's like, and I honestly think that online dating it's really bad, and it needs to go away. Like, I understand, like, if...
it's like shopping.
It's like shopping, right? As opposed to be like, why don't, like, you go find a hobby or find an interest, find somebody that also has that interest.
Yeah.
Because you're going to connect with that person.
Yeah, then you have something to talk about.
Then you have something to talk about other than, like, it's like...
I want to fuck you and you want to fuck me.
Yeah, there's, like, this whole, like, hookup culture thing where it's like they're not interested in, like, having a relationship. They just want to fuck one another.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's cool if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, but
then you can't bemoan the fact that you haven't found love.
Exactly.
When that's all you've been interested in.
I don't know. There's a whole lot going on with this younger generation that it's very concerning.
Yeah.
Especially from the standpoint of depopulation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Nobody's having kids.
No. Well, not like, nobody. A lot of the third world is having kids, and then all those people come here.
Like our generation, like millennials, like we were sold a bill of goods that was like, you need to go to college, you need to go into debt to get all this stuff done. And then, of course, like inflation hit. So the money that was spent on going to college, it's like, well, now there's this wealth gap now. Yeah. And a lot of millennials are like, they're married, but they're like, I can't fucking afford to have kids.
Yeah.
It's, and it's like, I totally get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
Because like raising a child, it takes money.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it gets talked about enough. It's like, that's the reason why like a lot of millennials have chosen not to have children up to this point.
It's because of the expense of it.
Because the expense of having a child. It's fucking expensive. Not as expensive as you think it would probably be.
But our dollar doesn't go as far as it used to.
Exactly.
Not nearly as far as it used to.
So like our depopulation thing is different than the Gen Z depopulation thing. I mean, there are some younger millennials that have probably like rolled over into the Gen Z.
Yeah.
Like what's happening with them.
Just the kind of social anxiety of it all.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, every generation has like their own thing that they sort of like deal with. Like Gen X, I don't really know what the fuck they did, but...
Like I said, they were just kind of ghosts.
Yeah. It's like, but of course, like you had the baby boomer thing, like they sort of started like the whole anti-war movement in Vietnam, and then, of course, now they want to get us into war.
Yeah. You ever see that? Have you seen the soy jack meme of the 60-year-old supporter?
No.
And it's a soy jack of a guy doing like this profile picture, and it was just like all the little blurbs around. It's like, I'm going to support our greatest allies. Oh boy. Well, before we run out of too much time, we stretch right quick. We got two Super Cringe Thursdays that we need to get into. Well, actually, no. I guess we should only do one, right? Because if we're going to record another episode, we got to save it for that one. Because otherwise, we're not going to have one.
Yeah.
So then we have a Super Cringe Thursday we need to get into. And we don't have a Super Creepy Friday. We totally dropped the ball on that one, so I apologize. But hopefully all this talk of World War and global escalation was creepy enough to warrant a Halloween episode. But anyway, so our Super Cringe Thursday post. This first one was, I keep calling it Pancake Bitch.
I feel like we talked about this in the last podcast.
We like alluded to it, but we didn't post it.
Okay, gotcha.
So for anybody who didn't see it, it is a video of a girl. She's like at an IHOP, and she's got her phone set up like, at the end of the table recording her.
Yeah, probably set up against the carafe.
Yeah, the carafe of syrup. Sticky. Little sticky phone. And the waiter comes by, or waiter or waitress, I don't know, comes by and puts a stack of pancakes in front of her. Well, the whole time that this is going on, she's like holding a fork and a knife like this, like, up to her chest, and she's like bouncing and bobbing up and down in her seat like a child.
No.
And it's just fucking annoying.
No.
It's annoying and it's fucking cringy. But in the background, there's another couple who are eating, and the girl is like turned like to the side. Oh. She's taking notice.
Just the look of disgust.
And just the stink face that she is making is just like, you ought to be so ashamed of your behavior.
Palpable. It's so thick you can taste it.
I enjoy seeing somebody react appropriately to that situation. Look, if you're excited about pancakes, be excited about pancakes. But if you're going to act like a fucking idiot, and somebody doesn't like that, you're in public. So
you've opened yourself up.
You just kind of have to take that stink face.
Right.
You don't get to go on TikTok afterward and make that grow out to be the bad guy.
Right.
Because you're the one who's acting like an idiot. No. Sorry.
Like I said, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say that having a podcast is also narcissistic, so you can hear yourself talk.
Well,
but
there's two of us. Yeah. If it was just me in here screaming into this microphone, that'd be one thing.
But like, I think it's a totally different thing to be like. I'm trying to be like introspective here.
Yeah.
Like, but I think it's a totally different thing to like set up a camera and then like film yourself, like, receiving pancakes. I don't know.
It is, I would say it's different than podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? She probably made more money off of that TikTok than this podcast will ever make.
Yeah. Well, that's also true.
You know, I missed the whole TikTok boat. I'm really glad that I did too, because
zero interest in.
I don't need another social thing. I don't need
another thing.
I don't need another thing to be, another vice. I just don't need that. It's like I've completely cut out nicotine and caffeine.
No.
So like I'm trying to cut as many vices out as I can. And you know what's really funny? Being off of nicotine and being off of caffeine feels like no different at all. I just don't do those things anymore. No. That's the only difference that it made. It's like when I stopped when I stopped smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah, when I stopped smoking cigarettes, it was like a noticeable change.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like moved over to vaping.
No.
Like I felt I breathed better, I slept better, my appetite was better. I could
taste things.
Yeah. I was like, I was living as like a half human when I was smoking cigarettes. But when I quit vaping, it was just like nothing changed.
No.
I just don't vape anymore. And it was like I couldn't imagine the fucking nicotine high I would get if I hit a vape.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so it was kind of funny. When Mary and I went to Italy, we were fucking vaping like all day long.
No.
It never stopping. That was the big difference between cigarettes, right? You'd step outside, right, smoke a cigarette, and then you'd have another one an hour or so later, whatever it happened to be. When you're vaping, you're just constantly sucking on this fucking thing. So, we get to the airport, we hit our vape one last time, we go inside, stand in fucking security, TSA, get through all that stuff, get to our terminal, sit at the gate, get on the plane, and it's hours and hours and hours and hours. We finally get to the airport in Italy, and we're like, gosh, we can't wait to go outside and hit our vapes.
Yeah.
But the airport in Italy had this little like closet thing.
Yeah.
That you could go and smoke in if you wanted to.
Hartsfield-Jackson used to have one of those.
They did used to have one. But this was not as like, theirs was like a whole room.
Yeah.
This was like a pod. Yeah. With like sliding glass doors.
A smoking pod.
Yeah. And we stepped in there, and just this smell of cigarettes was so rough, but we were like, I got to hit my vape.
Yeah.
And me and Mary both hit our vapes, and like I immediately just felt like
head rush.
A huge head rush. Yeah. And like my legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds apiece. We're like walking through the airport, and I'm just like, for the fucking vape.
Oh, God.
Another funny thing, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but when I was arranging a ride from the airport to our hotel, because I was like, I don't know how to get around in another country.
Yeah. Did y'all use a taxi service?
If we rode in a car, it was Uber. We Uber pretty much everywhere.
So that you just use the app on the phone? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's nice.
But it was hugely, because like their whole train and bus thing was super complicated to figure out. I didn't even attempt.
No.
But the hotel emailed me. The hotel was emailed me like a day or two before we flew out, and was like, if you want, we can arrange a pickup service where somebody will come to the airport and they'll hold up your name on a sign and we'll take you to the hotel. And I was like, ooh, that sounds fancy. Yeah. They're like, it's $230 for pickup and drop off. I was like, fuck it, whatever. At this point, like, we've already spent so much money. Like,
what's another $230?
What's another $200? Like, I had that to throw around. So we landed, and like the moment that we landed, the guy who was there to pick us up called me.
Yeah.
I can't understand what he's saying because he has an extremely heavy Italian accent.
Yeah.
It was just that fucking like, hey, I'm like, yeah, we're walking, we just landed. Yeah. And he's like, I couldn't understand what he's saying, but I think he understood me. I don't know. I got the words outside with the sign. I was like, okay, if we make it outside of this building, look for a guy with a sign. And so we step out of the doors, and it looks like an Arabian market. Just all these Middle Eastern men.
Honk, honk, honk.
It's just 100 Middle Eastern men.
I don't like this.
And they're all being like held back by like airport security. And there's like all this thin fencing that they're all hanging over. And they've got like copy paper signs with your name on it, like just shaking it like this. And I was like, oh, that's not what I expected. Yeah. I was told it was going to be a guy with a sign, and I guess that is what that is.
Yeah, they're like, he does have a sign.
He is a guy, and he has a sign.
I remember
it was funny
when we went to Bahrain when I was on deployment. We went to Bahrain a couple times, but there's like taxi services that would come near the base there that was in Bahrain.
Yeah.
And you could like go out to like there's like a big mall. Like Bahrain is very Western, like as far as
westernized,
and there's a lot of money involved over there. So of course like they wear blue jeans and shit like that.
Right.
So we took this taxi over to a Brazilian steakhouse. It was delicious.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then so we got done. We're like, well, we're going to go back towards base because there was a bar over near the base. We're going to go to that bar. And then so we like hail a taxi and we're like, hey, we want to go to, I think it was called like Cowboys or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along the lines like that. And then so we got in the taxi and like we went there and like we pull up and the guy's like, he's like 15 dinar, which is like what their currency is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I like handed him 15 dinar. He said, no, from everyone. And there's like 4 people in the taxi. And we just like got out and we said, fuck you.
Yeah.
And slammed the door and went inside.
It makes you wonder, like, they gotta get just away with scamming people constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Just constantly.
Like, it took us like 10 dinar to get to the place from the fucking from the base. And of course like the guy's like screaming out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, the guy that we Ubered with the one time, he like ran over a scooter and just kept going, and just those people, man, they just
it's different. Like the way they drive is fucking wild.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, those kind of culture shock things, because there's a lot of stuff over here that, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that they do over there, and that's just kind of like a general over there, wherever that is, wherever over there is.
A general malaise.
Yeah. That, you know, we see as like, that's a very rude thing to do.
Right.
It's an extremely rude thing to do. But there's stuff that we do over here that other people think is an extremely rude thing to do.
We had a guy that when I was in boot camp, I could not fucking stand this guy. And I don't know if I've ever talked about him on the podcast.
Are you talking about Princess?
Yes.
Yeah, you talked about him once before. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about him again. When I was in boot camp, we had this guy that was, I think he was from Ghana, I think. And so like when we first got started or whatever, like you're trying to kind of feel out like who are these people?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to like get like an understanding of like kind of who everyone is.
Who am I around?
Yeah, who am I around?
Yeah.
Because there's like 70 people in this fucking compartment. It's like I have no idea who any of these fucking people are.
Yeah.
And so like it's pretty obvious like you can tell the ones that aren't from the US. And so like this fucking guy like just fucking up just left and right. And we're getting in trouble all the fucking time.
Like Private Pile?
Yeah, because of this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't speak English. I don't know how the fuck he got into the military. And like, so like the drill instructors are fucking yelling at this guy. They eventually just stop fucking yelling at him. Now, this dude's so fucking stupid. He's
just not getting through to him.
He's just not getting through to this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then so one time, like we were all going to the restroom, and he's standing there at the fucking urinal with his fucking cock in his hand.
Yeah.
And somebody says something, and instead of like turning to like look and say something, he turns his whole entire body, dick and all, and he just starts pissing all over this guy, talking to him.
What the fuck?
And the guy's like, "The fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then he got upset because
he got yelled at.
And then so there's another time like so
was he peeing by holding his shirt up like Butters?
And there was another time where we had gone to the chow hall. And, like, you go in, you get your food, you sit down, you shut the fuck up and you eat.
Yeah.
Like, nobody fucking talks.
Yeah.
And so, this was still, like, a couple weeks in. So, everybody was, like, trying to be on their fucking best behavior.
Yeah.
And so, we get in there, and, like, there's our divisions on one side and then, like, another. So, it's like a cafeteria table, right?
Yeah.
And so, I sit down and I'm eating my food, and there's like a girl that's like sitting next to me, and then no, I'm sorry, she's sitting like catty corner from me.
Yeah.
And like in front of me is the ketchup, and next to her is Princess.
Yeah.
And so he, instead of asking, "Hey, you get that ketchup for me?"
Yeah.
He reaches over her and drags his entire arm through, like he has shit on his fucking arm. That he's drug his fucking arm over her food. And I looked up and I said, "Are you fucking retarded?" And then he looked at me, and of course like the drill instructor now has gotten up because I said it loud enough for everybody to hear.
Yeah, it was like it got kind of silent.
Yeah, it got really silent, and it was already silent in there. Yeah. So all you heard was like the drill instructor's talking and then me going, "Are you fucking retarded?" And then he's standing there with all this shit on his fucking arm.
Yeah.
And then of course he's tries to start yelling at me, and I was like, "Why don't you shut the fuck up?" And so like then now they're over here, and now it's become a thing. And there's like 3 drill instructors, and they're yelling at me. I'm fucking yelling at him. I'm not listening to them at all. And this girl's just like sitting here like this,
just yelling.
And she's just like sitting there, just like looking at her plate, not saying anything.
God, I think that incompetency is one of the worst things to have to be around.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing if somebody is being a dick.
Right.
But it's another thing if they just can't.
Right. It's a totally different thing.
It's a totally different kind of irritating.
Yeah.
Because it's like you just don't understand what is wrong with you.
What is your major fucking malfunction? I to this day I hate that fucking guy. If like I know you're probably never gonna hear this podcast, and if you do, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying because you don't speak English.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude. You are such a major fucking piece of shit. You got us in trouble all the fucking time. May you rot in hell. To this day, I hate that fucking guy. Like, I remember...
Didn't you say you got in trouble for calling him Princess?
Yeah, I started it.
They're like, you have to stop calling him that.
I started it because he got upset because he finally understood what princess meant.
Yeah.
And I got everybody else saying it in the division.
Yeah.
So, like, nobody even I don't even remember what that fucking guy's name is.
Yeah.
I just remember everybody called him Princess.
Yeah.
Because he acted like a fucking princess.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you just... Like, I remember...
Do whatever you want.
I remember... This is making me mad. I remember one time we were all doing push-ups because we were getting... They called it IT. And so, like, in the morning, like, they come in, flip on the fucking lights, everybody get the fuck up.
Yeah.
This side of the room, go brush your teeth. Everybody else, start doing push-ups.
Yeah.
And so everybody's doing push-ups. And eventually, like, once everybody rotates through brushing their teeth and getting all your shit done in the morning, shaving and everything,
yeah.
you come back out and now everybody's doing fucking push-ups. Yeah. Everybody's doing mountain climbers. Everybody's doing some jumping jacks, whatever the fuck it is, right?
Some kind of calisthenics. Yeah.
This fucking asshole just stops. We're all doing mountain climbers. So for those of you that don't know, mountain climbers, like, you're in a plank position and it's essentially you're running with your feet while you're in plank position. It fucking sucks. Horrific. Trying to do it with boots on while you're sweating and everything for like at 6:30 in the morning.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You just woke up.
Yeah, I just woke up.
Yeah.
I still have like a sleep headache.
Yeah.
Right?
Like your neck kind of hurts.
Yeah, my neck kind of hurts. And this fucking asshole just stands up, grabs his fucking canteen, and goes to the fucking bathroom.
He's like, I'm done.
he's like, oh, I need water. And just like, and the drill instructor's like,
what the fuck are you doing?
The fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And so the guy comes back and he like takes a sip of his water, puts his canteen back in the thing, and then the drill instructor, he goes, no. He's like, finish it.
Yeah.
And so he like, and the guy like, he won't chug it. He's just sipping on it. While the rest of it, he's like, nobody else is getting up until fuckface over there finishes his water.
Yeah.
And he's just fucking sipping on this water.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. I was like, I'm going to strangle him. I'm going to get up. I'm going to walk over there. I'm going to kill him.
Just walk over to him. Don't even like rush him. Just walk over.
I hated that guy with a passion. I hated him.
Y'all never did the soap bars and socks to him?
We never did. I wish they didn't give us any, so we had bottles of fucking Lever 2000. So I guess we could have took those and put it in a sock and like beat the shit out of him.
Just some fucking soap flying everywhere.
But I mean, I guess it's character building because you have to deal with all these different people from all these different walks of life. But fuck that guy. He was such a major fucking piece of shit, dude. If you're out there,
fuck you.
I hope your life has turned to shit. I hate you so much.
Military did not help him at all.
I hate you so fucking much.
Highlighted his ineptitude.
It's very seldomly. Like, I know I talk a lot of shit and say I don't like a whole lot of people. I genuinely do not fucking like you.
Yeah. Some people deserve it. Some people deserve to not be liked.
Yep.
Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. So once again, we apologize for the delay in the episodes, but hopefully we'll have you a second one here coming up pretty soon. I want to say thank you again to everybody who listens and continue to listen, and a big shout out to David, whichever David it was that sent the email. Everybody, feel free to send us if you have
that was nice. I like that.
If you have topics you'd like us to discuss, or you have any questions for us, and also if we were wrong about anything, which we touched on quite a few contentious topics this morning. Make sure you let us know, and we'll read off the correction here on a little segment we have called I'm Sorry. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we get out here?
Nope, just thank you for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. As always, I'll go through my spiel. Make sure that you leave a like, a rating, or review on your preferred podcast platform. If we're not on your preferred podcast platform, let us know. You can hit us up through the Facebook page, or you can email us, let us know. I'm sure that there's new platforms coming out all the time. So if we're not there, we'll do our best to try to get it there. And I guess that's it. The only other thing I have to say is, what did you think about that video I sent you the other day when you had the volume turned all the way up?
Oh, God. I was at fucking work.
That will be next week's Super Cringe Thursday. Do not watch it in a public place.
Yeah, don't watch it at work like I did.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I was like, I had my phone like this, and I was like...
Because essentially I was like, I hope this cringe finds you well.
Yeah, I said I wish I didn't have my volume up at work, and then you replied, I guess it didn't find you well. Well, everybody, that's the podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.